Okay, so I didn't read too many books in July, only two, but they were two really good books. So I'm still very excited to do this wrap up. Got two incredible books to talk to you about in Mercy, Tears of the Fallen by Chance Dillon and The Daughter of the Empire by Janie Wirtz and Raymond D. Feist. Two books, once of a series, so you're definitely going to want to hear about them. But to make sure this is a quality wrap up where you guys get to hear about lots of books being read, I am going to pull in Marsha after I've finished talking about my books, and she is going to tell us about her read. She read The Road by Cormac McCarthy and The Pilgrimage of Swords by Anthony Ryan, and some mangas, and she's in the middle of a couple of my favorites at the moment, and also a couple of reads I'm doing at the moment. Then we're going to talk a little bit Attack on Titan, because we've just become obsessed with the anime. I did read a little bit of the manga last month, if you remember that, but we've just become all consumed with the anime. So we'll talk that, and then we'll talk our TBRs, which we already discussed in our last video. So we'll just be rehashing that very quickly and mainly just focusing on the books we've already read this month, because we haven't talked enough about those. So firstly, we'll dive into my two incredible reads of the month. But before we do that, make sure down in the comments below, let me know what was your best read in July, what was your worst read in July, and what are you looking forward to reading in August? And while you're down there leaving a comment, make sure you like the video. It really helps. Subscribe. And if you want to help the channel a little extra, there's a Patreon link down in the description. So firstly, Tears of the Fallen by Chance Dillon, the first book in his series Mercy, which is a planned 4-book series with two-book arcs as the baseline. And I was blown away by Tears of the Fallen. I've talked about it in a lot of my videos already, and I will continue to talk about it for many videos to come whenever I get to my top books of the year, because this is pretty much everything I look for in a epic fantasy read. We get a huge world with a ton of rich history, a ton of lore. This world has been to the brink in the last 34 years. 34 years ago, there was a war that tore these lands apart. There was a plague that just wiped out thousands upon thousands of people. And you can feel all the turmoil that this world has been through in this book. You can feel the lives that these characters have lived off the page. We have great, well-rounded characters that feel like real people. They have been through it, and they're still going through it when we meet them in this book. There can be a lot with this book. There can be a lot to take in with all the world building and the history. And it's not spoon-fed to you. It's just there, and you kind of have to pick up the pieces as you go. You get little hints at the past, so you're gluing it together. But by the time you get to the end of this book, you have a really good picture of just what's an appropriate word to use? Just the turmoil this world has been through. And you just want to pick up from page one again so you can dive into it at a deeper level. And I love that type of read where there's just layers that you can dive into. We've got a huge epic story and a very large cast, but the cast is very slowly built up. We just start with our main couple characters, and we just get a couple little new POVs here and there. But by the end of the book, we've been in a lot of people's heads, and it doesn't feel like that because Chance has just slowly built it up throughout the book, rather than just throwing it all there from the first couple chapters, which I really appreciate. Chance doesn't hold back. This is a really dark book. It has some inspirations from Lord of the Rings. I felt like there was a little bit of a Star Wars influence right at the end of the book, where there was just a couple odes to scenes or characters or moments that I've loved from other series. And a little bit about the story. The main two characters we are following in Tears of the Fallen are two exiles that have to find their way together and try to figure out what is going on right now. The world it's been at peace for the last 34 years, but there is a lot going on where this peace is just on the verge of crumbling. And these two characters are going to play a big role in getting things back to a livable state for this world, holding things together and stopping things from becoming much worse, whilst there's just a ton of politicking going around in all these lands. There's a ton of different political players, and we've got people vying for power, people trying to, reconquer their lands. They don't want to be part of this unity. There's a whole bunch of things going on. You just need to check out this book. It's got hints of Malazan. It's got hints of Abercrombie. If you love tabletop games and video games like Elder Scrolls, this is something you are going to want to check out. Just make sure you're ready for just a ton of world building to be thrown at you. I had a great time, and I just can't wait to read the next book in this series when Chance has it out. Then the next book I read this month, I just finished reading a couple of days ago, and that's The Daughter of the Empire by Janie Wirtz and Raymond D. Feist. So this is the first book in the Empire trilogy, And you can read this by itself, but if you look at Raymond E. Feist's Rift War saga as a larger whole, you'd read this after you read the Magician trilogy with Magician, Darkness at Setathon, and Silverthorn. I think those are the names. I could be a little bit wrong. You'll have to tell me. And from what I've been told, books 2 and 3 of the trilogy hit a lot harder if you've read the previous trilogy first. So I might go back and do that now. But as you guys know, I'm absolutely addicted to Janny Wurtz's writing, so I wanted to check out one of Janny's books in this world first. And it's written by both of them. It's not just one of Janny's books. It's Janny, Raymond and Feist. I was blown away. We are set on the other side of the rift to the original trilogy, and we are in an Asian-inspired culture. The world building and like fantasy elements in this book are really big, but also on the minimal side. So the world building is really out there and really interesting, and we get interesting species, like a fantasy race that I haven't seen before. But the magic is very limited, and this is just a highly political story. Our main character, Mara, I'm going to give you a little spoiler on what happens on the first few pages of book 1, because that's not too much of a spoiler, really. Mara loses a lot on the first page and gets a lot of responsibility thrown on her shoulders. Her family is a very important family, and she is now the one in charge for everything. She's just a 17-year-old girl at the start of book 1, I believe, and she now gets thrown into this world of politics that she never thought she was going to be a part of. She has to get her lands in order, get her armies in order, and start to play this big political game against all these other rivals that do not like her family. And she is just building back up from near ashes, not completely underthrown. Like, her family still has its estates in order, but they are beaten to the edge at book 1, and she's just finding her way back into the political game. So it's just a ton of political maneuvering and scheming, and that was just really fun. I love a deeply political book, and this is politics drive the story. The world building is great, felt fresh and new for me. The characters all felt really good, really well fleshed out. The only drawback I had for this entire read was I felt the society Mara was in was a little black and white. So everyone's very honorable, everyone sticks to these codes. So if you do one thing, some people can't retaliate because certain honorable codes. And it made the politicking a little bit too black and white, where there was still people working in the grey area, doing like devious things, doing a lot of backstabbing and stuff, but not as much as you would see in some other books. And there was a bit of, if I do this, then this will happen, so then we'll be good. And Mara was very capable at overcoming her obstacles, where, for the first half of the book, I was like, okay, this is really interesting. I'm loving the scheming, but where's the strife? Where is the struggle going to come in? And by the end, I started to feel the struggle. I started to feel the stakes coming in. So that wasn't as much for gripe. By the time I got to the end of the book, it just felt like at the beginning, we got like a 16, 17 chapter book, and every chapter was obstacle overcome with not too much challenge. But by the end of the book, that was sorted out, and I can't wait to get further into this series, though I think I might go back to Raymond's older books first, so I can have those books 2 and 3 hit a bit harder for me. My dad just read them and had a great time with them, so I'm sure they're excellent. It's a very popular series for great reason, I'm sure. And lastly, just the writing, very easy to digest, very easy to read and fly through. Raymond and Janny kept it very accessible, unlike Janny's Warhost of Light and Shadow series, which I'm just about to talk about, where that writing you have to take your time with because the language is a bit more archaic, as my friend Axe would say, and is just a little bit denser and harder to digest. So we'll move on to that now, like what I'm currently reading. I'm currently reading The Warhost of Vastmark by Janny Wurtz, the 3rd book in her Wars of Light and Shadow series. This is the second half of her Ships of Merior book. The publishers broke it up into 2 books when it was released. And I thought, after the insanely epic high that the Ships of Merior ended on, we would have a slow start to this book. We'd be dealing with all the chaos that just ensued in the last chapter. But no, Janny just goes and dials all the stakes up to like 100 and just throws way more chaos in there than I ever saw coming in the first 10 pages of this book. And we have just been go, go, go nonstop. The Wars of Light and Shadow is a massive 11-book epic fantasy. It feels really classic, but it feels uniquely classic. The world building is its own thing. It doesn't follow the Tolkien elves, dwarves, dragons sorts of thing. We're in a world of its own fantastical races, and they've been missing from this world because the curse of the Mistwraith came 500 years ago and covered these lands in a shroud of fog. And our two main characters, Light and Shadow, they are fated to be enemies, but they also have to fight back against this Mistwraith. So there is just a ton of sides in this book. There is a ton of political players. We've got these two sides pulling the whole continent into a war, and there's chaos ensuing, and there's just this overarching enemy of the Mistwraith still persisting. I love the way Janny writes. She does use language that we don't read on a day-to-day basis. There's lots of words that I've had to go back and search what they mean, and I take my time when I read Janny words, and I find myself getting more immersed in her world because I have to take my time with her writing. And I compare it to when I listen to something. When I listen to something at normal speed, my brain can go and wander. It can think about other things and I lose track. But when I listen to something at 2x speed, I'm dialed in, I'm focused, I can't get distracted. When I'm reading Janny's writing, I can't get distracted. I have to focus in. So I just get so lost in her books. She does a deep dive into her characters, and she just does a deep dive into setting. Every time a character is doing something, you feel like Janny has gone out into the woods and done this thing herself, so she can give you that exact feeling just to put you in that setting. Warhost of Vastmark is just giving me everything I want. All the characters I love, all the character interactions, seeing the places our characters go, seeing the emotional journeys that each character goes through, not just our two main characters, all the characters around them. Phenomenal series. It's hard to recommend because of the language and the prose style being something you have to take your time with. But if you're willing to trust Janny and to go slower with these bigger, denser reads, it's what I think classic fantasy, it's what I think is probably the peak of classic fantasy. Whether that's controversial to say, I don't know. It's up to you. I can't wait to keep reading this one. Now, that's all the reading I've done. I'm in the beginning of one other book, but I'm reading that one with Marsha, so I'll bring her on now to tell us about her reads, and then we'll go into what we're reading, Attack on Titan, and our TBRs.
I don't know why this is so awkward when I do TikTok, but it's so much different when I know it's on YouTube.
I don't know how to do an introduction. This is Marsha. Marsha, what have you been reading?
Okay, so I haven't read a lot. We've had a very big move in the last month, so I haven't gone through a lot, but I've read a few short books, one of them being The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I gave this probably about a 4.5 stars. I think I liked No Country for Old Men better than The Road.
Yeah, that flowed really well. That was fast.
Flowed very well. But The Road is, I think, what everyone says it is. I don't think it's trying to be anything different. His prose is very minimalistic, which is similar to No Country for Old Men, though I think that one was meant to be a screenplay. And I think that prose that's minimalistic kind of mirrors how his characters are supposed to be really stripped down and in search of survival. I don't even think it's just about the will to go on. I think a lot of it is also when do you give up? I think that is kind of the questions that it's playing at, similar to I Who Have Never Known Men and The Wall. I think it's talking about that is connection necessary for survival, and whether, do I want to live?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay. Then I read A Pilgrimage of Swords by Anthony Ryan, and I don't have much to say. This is 128 pages. It's about a warrior who meets up with 6 other people, and they go on this pilgrimage because this kingdom has been reduced to ash, so they're going to the Mad King. That's all I really got for you. I think it's pretty mediocre. I don't think it's bad, and I don't think it's great because I don't really remember anything else about it. Will I continue? I think it's a possibility. The second one's called The Kraken's Tooth, and Subpress did really pretty covers for it.
This covers do look good.
I've heard that each one gets a little bit better, so I'm hoping that the second one kind of picks up a little bit, maybe gives the characters a little bit more body and personality, that it will be worth it to go on. And they're also so short that it's not a huge time investment.
So playing characters, what was the world building like? Was it
I
anything
literally
special?
cannot tell you a single thing that I recall.
Nothing stood out?
No.
Disappointing. And then you read some manga.
And then I read 5 mangas of Witch Hat Atelier, and can't tell you why. I don't necessarily go for something cozy usually, and I wouldn't say it's cozy. It has a little bit of like darker themes about it, and it's about this girl who wants to become a witch, and she gets taken in, and she goes to this little witch school as an apprentice. Super cute, really great artwork, and anime is coming out, and I'm going to prepare myself for that. So I will be continuing with that. I'm also 30% into the what is that
The
name?
Children of Gods and Fighting Men.
Thank you.
By Shauna Lawless, the Gale Song Saga, first book.
And I didn't realize how, like, I've heard very good things about it. I just don't think I realized how brutal it would be, which I really appreciate. Like, it definitely feels like it has very high stakes, and it's like a historical fiction meets Irish mythology. So you have like 2 mothers who, for the life of me, I can't pronounce what they are, but they have fire magic.
Gormlath or something like that. Horrible pronunciation because it's Gaelic. But for me, when I read this, it felt like I was reading like The Last Kingdom with the fantasy element thrown in, the Netflix adaptation of Bernard Cornwell's series. And I just really thought the character work was a highlight for me.
So far, I think like everything good that people have said about the series, I think that all stands out. I think the stakes are high. I think it's brutal. I think the characters are interesting. And like you can see how these 2 women are kind of like scheming through like a very like male dominated world.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting to see. And it's a really fun setting because you're getting Ireland around the late 10th, early 11th century. And this is when Vikings are playing a big role. So there's got Viking kingdoms, Irish kingdoms, all vying for power. And we've got these 2 mothers who are from ancient fantasy races, and these races are enemies. So it's them against each other, but whilst this bigger historical story is going on. It's very interesting.
Very interesting. Then we are both reading The Grace of Kings, and I think we're about 20-25% through, and I'm really enjoying this. I like how it it does jump very quickly, like between what's going on, but I don't think that takes away from like seeing the whole picture, and it doesn't take my investment away from like the characters.
I was just about to say, like, I still feel like you get a good idea for who each character is and what they are, and you get a feel for like their relationships they have.
Yeah.
So even though we don't see too much of the relationship on page between 2 of our main characters, or one of our main characters and his partner, you still feel the relationship between them, like connection between them. I'm really liking just to see this world building, just like a few different things that we haven't seen in fantasy show up, like the gliders we had on the first chapter. I thought were really interesting, and I'm just excited to see where it goes. And every time the word dandelion pops up, I'm like, oh, what does this mean? Then, as you guys know, in June, I read the first omnibus, the first 3 volumes of Attack on Titan, and had a great time. I did start the second omnibus. I was about halfway through volume 4, but we started watching the anime and got very hooked. We're halfway through season 3 now. And yeah, it does live up to all the hype. I do have some gripes, but she's the hype lady for Attack on Titan, so have you found it so far?
I can't think of anything for the last like 3 weeks aside of just Attack on Titan. It has taken over my entire life. All my thoughts surround Attack on Titan. Honestly, I don't think that they lied when they said this is one of the best like pieces of media like ever created. The characters are really interesting. There's a lot of really great arcs in this show. The battle scenes, unreal. They're so good. There are some blows to this that Dillon has more issues and troubles with
We'll
than
get
I
there.
do.
I'll talk about what
But
the series is
I
about
also think
first.
I've watched more anime and these things like tend to show up a little bit more. So I'm able to kind of look past it.
Yeah. Before we go into the negatives, if you haven't seen Attack on Titan before, basically for the last 100 years, humanity has been living behind a wall. There's 3 sets of walls, all within each other. Outside the walls, there are titans that just appeared and fully decimated humanity. We don't know much about why. Well, when you start the book, you don't know much about why, or start the series, I should say. But as you get further into it, you just are continually learning more and more. We have scouts who venture outside the walls to try and fight back against these titans. And we are following 3 young characters who, as well, I'll spoil it a little bit. Right on the first page, the first wall, the outer wall, is smashed by titans, and humanity has to flee inside the second wall. So there is not much space left for humanity. So humanity needs to really start fighting back against these titans, not just hiding behind walls. We need to venture out and fight back and destroy these titans. Layers keep getting added to this, I swear, every single episode. And yeah, we're just following 3.
I've never been in a show where like I really couldn't figure out what's happening. And you get no answers. And not in a bad way, like in a way where like it's kind of dangling in front of you, but
Yeah.
you can't figure it out. They've kept it like, oh yeah,
It
it's really
feels a
good.
bit like Malazan is what I've compared it to, because it's like we follow these few characters and then we get a flashback of their past, but then we'll get a flashback from someone else's POV, and then we get another story perspective added, and then another element added in here, and then there's another challenge we have here. There's just all these different layers, and I'm hooked. My gripes that I have are there's a little bit of plot armor where I just feel like some characters just keep persisting when they keep being in scenarios where they probably should have passed. And there's a lot of flashbacks, which gets me. I feel like it takes a long time to get to certain places. And there's a lot of monologuing, which can sometimes get me. But there's also some really good dialogue in this series, like some insane speeches that just get me so hyped up. So I'm very excited to finish this one off. Probably in the next couple of weeks. We've watched it pretty quickly. Yeah?
Yes.
On to the TBRs?
Yes.
All right. So we did do a TBR video earlier in the week where Marsha picks out my next 5 reads, because until this month in July, I had not been picking good books to read. So I need some help. So I'm in Warhost. Together we'll be reading House of Chains next. We've read the first 3 books of Malazan together, and we just can't wait to get into book 4. We're going to be fighting over this paperback copy, and someone is going to get left with a Kindle, probably me. Excited to be back on 7 Cities, where we were in Deadhouse Gates book 2. And I hear we are following a new character that gets introduced here, and we get a lot of his backstory and history. So we're going to be going through a lot of time in this book, which I'm excited for. You got any thoughts for House of Chains?
I've heard some mixed feelings about House of Chains, so I'm a little bit worried it will slow down, but that's okay.
No, I think it should be good. And like, I trust Erickson that this will be an important installment. So either it's not the fastest paced or the most gripping book now, the characters from it will grow on us and we'll get pretty excited by the end of it. Then the 5 books you've picked out for me to read once we finish House of Chains is The Wall of Storms. So we'll go into the second book of Dandelion Dynasty, which I've heard is just like the best sequel.
Yeah, I'm really excited
gets
for
raved
that
about
one.
a lot. Then The Wall, and this is our book club read. So if you want to read that along with me on Fable, this is one of Marsha's favorites. She compared it to The Road and I Who Have Never Known Men, books I both love. So if you want a bleak, compelling read about a lady who gets trapped behind a wall with her cat, her dog, and a cow, check it out. Then I'll be going into Between Two Fires, and this is a historical fiction fantasy. So historical fiction setting, but more so on the fantasy side. We're in the 1300s in Norway. Their plague is going on, but the fallen angels like Lucifer are bringing their war to the mortal realm. Very interesting stuff. Then, keeping with the historical fiction and standalone vibe, The Lines of Our Son, we'll be reading that together.
Yeah.
So our friends adore this book. We don't know too much what it's about, so in my little search, it's in a world inspired by medieval Spain, and we are following just a couple people that are from different kingdoms. They all play big roles for whatever their role is, whether that's like warrior, poet, physician, and they both like bond and come together, but because of their loyalties, their bonds are challenged. Then the last book I'm reading, you're also going to be reading The Shadow of the Torturer, book one of
The Book of the New Sun.
by Gene Wolfe. And another one I don't know too much about. It's written with my favorite storytelling way, where the main character has already gone and lived out the story and they're telling it to us. It's a science fantasy, so and it was really influential for Christopher Rocchio. So it's far in Earth's future. We're following an exile as he goes on a journey to discover his destiny and winds up in something bigger from what I've been able to find. But all I know is it's dense and it's going to be tough to read, and I'm excited for that because my favorite books are like that usually. Now your TBR.
So the books I picked out for Dillon, minus The Wall, which I've already read, I will be reading as well. I got I think halfway through Between Two Fires, but I had kind of put it on the back burner, so I will be restarting that again. I also put Legacy of Ash on the back burner, which I got 30% in, so I will be going back to that. And that's basically, you start off 15 years ago during a rebellion, and you end up following the children from that rebellion. It's very intricate politics. It's a debut fantasy, but honestly the politics are quite top tier. I think I said before, it sounds like you're eavesdropping into something, and it's really good. So far I've been really enjoying it. There's forbidden magic, and that's all I really know as of right now.
The more you talk about it, the more I want to read it. And I told myself I wouldn't read it, but now I'm like, maybe.
Well, a lot of I think it's very underrated for the reviews that I have seen, and the two friends that I had been reading with at the time did finish it, and they adored it. They went into book 2 right away, and yeah. Oh, and then I also put Empire of Silence on the back burner. I think I got 30 chapters into that one, and I never finished it. I know a lot of people say it's a very dragged out kind of prologue. For the 30 chapters that I had read, I quite enjoyed it, but I like that type of storytelling narrative, so it works for me. I will go back to that because I do want to finish that now, having finished Red Rising, so it's time to put in a new sci-fi read for myself.
All right, so I think that's all from us. Let us know what was your best read in July, the worst read in July, and what you're going to be reading in August. Thank you so much for watching, and just have a great day. Oh, also,
go start Attack on Titan.
Go start Attack on Titan, but also Marsha has a book talk account, so if you want more of her book reviews and thoughts and stuff, I'm going to make sure she keeps coming back on the channel, but she also has her own page on TikTok. I'll link that down in the description. See ya.